Some wounds don't come from strangers. They come from the people who are supposed to love you simply because you love their child. My name is Sophia Ramirez Chen. I'm 29 years old, and this is the story of the Christmas Eve when my mother-in-law told me I wasn't family, and the moment my husband proved her devastatingly wrong. I'd been married to Thomas Chen for 2 years. We met at the hospital where I worked as a pediatric nurse and he worked as a radiologist. Our love story was the kind that feels easy, natural, like we'd been meant to find each other. But from the moment Thomas took me home to meet his parents, I knew his mother, Catherine Chen, had other ideas about who her son should have married. Catherine came from old money, a Chinese-American family that had made their fortune in real estate 3 generations ago. They lived in a mansion in Westchester County, belonged to exclusive clubs, and maintained traditions with rigid precision. And I was everything she had wanted for her eldest son, a working class Latina whose parents cleaned houses and worked in restaurants to put 3 kids through school. Thomas insisted his mother would come around, but she just needed time to see how happy we were together. But 2 years of polite coldness, backhanded compliments, and deliberate exclusion had worn me down. This particular Christmas Eve, we'd driven up from the city to the Chun family estate for their annual dinner. It was always formal, a catered affair with extended family, business associates, and people who measured worth by portfolio size. I'd learned to wear the right clothes, smile at the right times, and stay quiet when Catherine made her subtle digs about my background. We arrived at 6 o'clock. The house was decorated like something from a magazine: white lights, silver ornaments, a tree that must have cost thousands. Everything perfect, everything cold. Thomas's younger sister, Amy, greeted us at the door with genuine warmth. "Sophia, thank God you're here. Mom's been in rare form today." "Meaning?" I asked, though I already knew. "Meaning she's had comments about everyone. But especially about you not understanding family traditions." Amy rolled her eyes. "Just warning you." In the grand living room, Catherine held court. She was 62, impeccably dressed in designer clothes, every hair in place. When she saw me, her smile was thin. "Sophia, how nice of you to make it. Though I see you're wearing red. We specifically asked everyone to wear blue or white this year for the photos." I looked down at my red dress, the one Thomas had said looked beautiful. "I'm sorry. I didn't receive. I sent the email to family members 3 weeks ago." Catherine interrupted, the emphasis on family members unmistakable. Thomas squeezed my hand. "Mom, I never got that email either." "Well, your family, Thomas." Sophia can stand to the side during photos. The evening continued in that vein. During cocktails, Catherine made sure to introduce me to guests as Thomas's wife, without using my name. She asked me to help serve appetizers. Me specifically, not Amy or any of the other daughters-in-law. Me with daughters-in-law. She seated me at the far end of the dinner table, away from Thomas, between 2 elderly business associates who ignored me completely. I endured it all with practiced grace. I'd learned not to react, not to give Catherine the satisfaction of seeing me hurt. But then came the moment that broke something inside me. After dinner, people were mingling in the living room. Catherine was showing some family photographs to a group of guests. I walked by, and she called out to me, "Sophia, come here a moment." I approached, hoping maybe this was an olive branch. Maybe she wanted to include me in something. She held up a framed photo of Thomas's college graduation, surrounded by his parents and grandparents. This was when Thomas graduated summa cum laude from Yale. We were so proud. All his grandparents were there, all the family, everyone who mattered. "It's a beautiful photo," I said. Catherine looked directly at me, and her voice dropped so only I could hear her next words. "Family moments like these are precious. They're for people who share our blood, our history, our values. You may have married Thomas, but you'll never really be part of this family. You're not one of us." The words hit me like a physical blow. I stood there, unable to speak, unable to breathe. Catherine's smile never wavered. To everyone else in the room, we were just having a polite conversation. But she wanted me to know exactly where I stood. I excused myself and went to the bathroom, locked the door, and let silent tears fall. 2 years of trying, of being kind, of proving myself, and it meant nothing. I would never be enough for her because of where I came from. Because my last name had been Ramirez before it became Chen. I considered calling an Uber, going home, leaving Thomas to deal with his family alone. But I loved him too much to embarrass him that way. I fixed my makeup, straightened my red dress, and went back out. Thomas found me immediately. "Are you okay? You look upset." "I'm fine," I lied. He studied my face. "What did she say to you?" "Thomas, not here. Please." Before he could press further, his father clinked a glass. Robert Chen, normally quiet and passive, stood in the center of the room. "Everyone, if I could have your attention. Thomas has asked to make a toast." My husband stood, and I saw something in his expression I'd never seen before. A hardness, a determination. "Thank you all for being here tonight," Thomas began, his voice carrying across the room. "Christmas is about family, about the people we love, about the bonds that hold us together." Catherine smiled, probably thinking this would be a nice traditional toast. "I want to talk about my wife, Sophia," Thomas continued. My heart started pounding. Catherine's smile faltered. 2 years ago, I married the most extraordinary woman I've ever met. A woman who works 12-hour shifts caring for sick children, who holds crying parents and tells them their babies will be okay, who memorizes her patients' names and their favorite cartoons and their siblings' birthdays. He looked directly at me. Sophia grew up with parents who worked 3 jobs between them to give their kids opportunities. She put herself through nursing school. She sends money home every month to help her younger brother finish college. She volunteers at a free clinic on her days off. The room was completely silent now. "And since we got married," Thomas said, his voice growing stronger, "I have watched my mother treat her with barely disguised contempt. Backhanded compliments about her accent, even though Sophia speaks perfect English. Comments about her career, as if being a nurse is somehow less valuable than being a doctor. Exclusion from family emails and photos and conversations." Catherine's face had gone white. "Thomas, this is hardly—" "I'm not finished, Mom." His voice was steel now. "Tonight, I watched you ask Sophia to serve appetizers like she was hired help. I watched you seat her away from me at dinner. And I just learned that you told my wife, the woman I love more than anything in this world, that she'll never really be part of this family." Gasps rippled through the room. "So I want to make something very clear," Thomas said. "Sophia is my family. She is the family I chose. And if my mother cannot treat her with respect, with love, with the basic dignity she deserves, then my mother is the one who is not part of my family." Catherine looked like she'd been slapped. "You would choose her over your own mother?" "I would choose my wife over anyone who treats her cruelly," Thomas said flatly. "Every single time." He turned to me, his eyes soft now. "Sophia, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't stand up to this sooner. I kept hoping Mom would change, that she'd see what I see in you, but that was unfair to you. You shouldn't have had to endure this." Tears were streaming down my face now. "You are brilliant and compassionate and strong," Thomas continued. "You are everything I could ever want in a partner. And you are absolutely part of this family, not because my mother accepts you, but because I choose you. Every day, I choose you." He looked around the room at all the guests, at his extended family, at his father and sister. "Anyone who cannot treat Sophia with respect is not welcome in our lives," he said. "That includes Christmas dinners. That includes family events. That includes our future children's lives." The last part hit Catherine visibly. The mention of grandchildren she might not know. Thomas's father spoke up then, surprising everyone. "Your mother and I need to talk. But Thomas, you're right. Sophia has been nothing but gracious, and she's been treated poorly. That ends tonight." He looked at Catherine. "We raised our son to stand up for what's right. He's doing that now. Are you going to listen?" The room remained frozen. Catherine looked around at everyone watching her, at her husband's stern expression, at Thomas's unwavering stance. Finally, she spoke, her voice small. "I think I need to apologize. Not to me," Thomas said. "To Sophia." Catherine turned to me. For the first time in 2 years, I saw uncertainty in her eyes instead of cold judgment. "Sophia," she paused, struggling. "I owe you an apology. I have been unfair to you. I had certain expectations for Thomas's life, and when he chose differently, I blamed you instead of accepting that my son is his own person with his own choices. It wasn't a perfect apology. It didn't erase 2 years of hurt, but it was a start. I hope you can forgive me, she added quietly. I looked at Thomas, who gave me an encouraging nod. Then at his father, who looked genuinely remorseful. At Amy, who was wiping tears from her eyes. I appreciate the apology, I said carefully. But respect isn't just words, Mrs. Chen. It's actions. If you want to be part of our lives, of our future children's lives, then I need to see real change. Catherine nodded, looking older suddenly, diminished. I understand. The dinner party effectively ended after that. Guests made polite excuses and left early. Thomas and I drove home in silence, his hand holding mine the entire way. When we got to our apartment, I finally broke down. You didn't have to do that. You didn't have to choose between... Yes, I did, Thomas interrupted. Sophia, you are my wife, you are my partner. And I should have done that a year ago. I'm sorry I let you suffer for so long. Your mother might never forgive you. Then that's her loss, he said firmly. I meant every word I said. You are my family. The family I choose. And I will defend you against anyone, including my own mother. We held each other, and I felt something shift. The weight I'd been carrying for 2 years, the constant anxiety of never being enough, it lifted just a little. My mother-in-law had told me I wasn't family. But my husband had stood in front of everyone who mattered to him and said the opposite. He'd chosen me, publicly and unequivocally. In the weeks after that Christmas Eve, Catherine did try. She called to apologize again, more sincerely. She invited us to lunch, just the 3 of us, and actually asked about my work, my family, my life. It was awkward and uncertain, but it was effort. She'd probably never be the warm, embracing mother-in-law I'd hoped for. Some prejudices run too deep to completely erase. But she learned to be respectful, to include me, to acknowledge that her son had made his choice. And Thomas kept his word. Every time she slipped, every time a comment came that was less than respectful, he addressed it immediately. He made it clear that disrespecting me meant losing him. My name is Sophia Ramirez Chan. I'm a pediatric nurse, daughter of immigrants, a woman who was told she'd never belong in her husband's world. But I learned something that Christmas Eve. Family isn't about blood or money or tradition. It's about the people who stand beside you when everyone else wants to push you aside. It's about the person who raises a glass in a room full of judgment and says, "This is my choice, and I'm not backing down." That's the only family that really matters. The family you choose. And the family who chooses you back.